The growth mindset for me is all about destiny and autonomy. A fixed mindset belief is that you can't change your destiny and you don't have autonomy to change your situation. Growth mindset, you are in control of your destiny. Any setbacks, the people around you, they can't stop you from being yourself. A very common phrase we hear in self-improvement is that you are the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But before you think that you've heard this all before, no. Today I'm going to debunk this myth and state that you are not the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I genuinely believe it could actually be a dangerous and negative trap if you take it to heart too quickly. And I can't tell you how much I hate simplistic advice that people give without thinking about it. And this episode will really help you be yourself and get the most out of the relationships around you and just live your best life. Welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast. Our quote of the day is, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken," by Oscar Wilde. I have always loved this quote. We are all unique and beautiful individuals, and trying to be like others is an injustice to ourselves. And this leads into my first story against the myth that you're the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Something I really enjoy is skiing. I can forget life and focus on increasing a skill purely for my own enjoyment and delight. I'm pretty good at skiing, and I'm also pretty good at enjoying myself, I think. So I'm pretty at home on the hardest runs or going off-piste or in the snow park where you can do tricks and things. And yet I love skiing with newbies. They go very slowly on gentle slopes, and actually this gives me plenty of chances to work on my technique and my style. I'll balance on one leg for a while, or I'll only turn in one direction the whole way down the slope, or I'll try and do the whole thing backwards. And I can frolic around in the sides of the piste, jumping on things, and you actually can't do that when you're going fast. Another thing I really like spending time with new learners is that they'll ask me questions around how to ski on different things, and that gives me a chance to really think deeply about how I ski, and it will make me really understand the fundamentals of what I'm actually doing. So spending time with newbie skiers really increases my insights for doing challenging things, and it helps me build my base as a skier. Equally, I love skiing with really advanced pro skiers who are way better than me. They'll take me down scary off-piste routes and I'll end up crashing around, and even when I'm on piste I'll just be trying to keep up and not kill myself or anybody else. And then I'll ask them questions about what they're doing and they'll tell me some fundamental things around really advanced topics. And again, it will really help me improve a lot very fast. And then my favorite type of person to ski with is people who are just like me, at my level, and they have very similar interests and mindset, and they really want to improve. They want to do scary things, and we can egg each other on, try different challenges, inspire each other. And at no point do they ever feel like they're holding me back or I'm holding their back. And they also never feel like I'm showing off or waiting around. So is there anybody I don't like skiing with? Yes. Good skiers who aren't ambitious. People who are at my level, but who don't want to improve. Now, this is the worst thing. They'll just go down pistes quite fast, and that's about it. It's too fast to play around and learn fun things. It's too slow to push my edges. It's just kind of meh. It's just doing the same thing again and again. And I could ski for a week with people like this at my level, and I'll feel like I'm not learning anything. So, why am I telling you this story? Because ultimately, I like skiing, and I'm going to be myself around any other type of skier regardless of how good they are, unless I'm with people that hold me back from being myself. So I'm not a result of the people I spend time skiing with. I'm actually only held back by those that stop me from being myself. That is a lesson for life. Instead of focusing on all the types of people we want to be around, who we want to be like, we should focus on the types of people that prevent us from being ourselves. Now, you can see why I titled this episode, Bitch, Don't Kill My Vibe. I'm not saying never spend time with any of these people, just not in the scenarios where it reduces your self-expression. And so, on to a very, very different flaw with the assumption that you are the 5 people you spend the most time with, but just as important. One of my absolute best friends in life is a guy called Laurie. He is nothing like me on paper. I used to spend all of my spare time with him when I was younger, and I still really enjoy catching up with him today. Yet he's pretty much the opposite of me. He likes watching sports, and I can't for the life of me be interested in watching a bunch of people that I don't personally know go around playing a sport. I'll watch like the World Cup or something, but otherwise I don't care. Equally, Laurie doesn't play sports, whereas every day I love doing sport. It's a core part of my being. And in fact, Laurie's fairly unambitious. He can work hard, and he's a really dependable person, but he won't mind me saying this, but happy to half-ass things and take the easier route, perhaps. And I'm possibly too ambitious. I kind of have to do whatever I'm doing properly, otherwise I don't want to do it at all. And for some annoying reason, I only do things that are super challenging, even if there's an easier option. And in fact, if there isn't a good chance that I might fail at doing something, I'm probably going to get bored and not even bother doing it. And you can see this in like how we work. So Laurie has a job that he doesn't work too hard in. And a year ago, it became obvious he wasn't going to get any career advancements with this job. He thought about changing it, but he was like, you know what, I'm going to move countries in a year's time, so I'll just not bother changing job right now because I'm going to have to change job again in a year's time, and it's like faff or something, and whatever. So he's coasted for the past year, whereas I can't do something for a single week or even a day if it doesn't tie into my long-term goals. So you can see that we're kind of different people in a big way. And you may be asking, why the hell do I hang out with him? Well, he's actually bloody awesome. We both have a very curious sense of humor, and we can always make each other laugh. We get along super well, and despite our different goals, we never run out of things to talk about. He's genuinely interested in the things I do, and he's always very happy for me. He doesn't stop me from being myself ever in any way. And what I love is that actually he complements my personality perfectly. When I spend time with him, it relaxes me and it takes me out of my always on mentality. So some people, they need a beer or a cigarette after work to turn themselves off, and they can enter that relaxed mode. And for me, being around Laurie gives me that feeling. I'm hanging out, I'm having downtime to enjoy myself. It centers me in the moment, it nourishes my soul, and it doesn't stop me from being myself in any way. And in fact, it energizes me and it helps me to be myself. And for example, 10 years ago now, I had massive burnout with my first business and I nearly quit. And what happened was I actually went and spent a month living with Laurie in Germany. And he was in the South Bavaria. He was doing a summer internship job with a cycle tour company. And I just got to go cycling around sunny mountains and lakes all day long whilst he was off working. And then we'd hang out in the evenings, barbecues and nice things. And I'm not sure he knows this, but he really put me back together when I was feeling super shit. And I recovered, I went on to sort out that business, and it grew for another 3 years, and I managed to sell it. And he genuinely helped me achieve that huge goal, even though he's not at all into the business side of things. I think you could actually describe my affection for him a bit like perhaps a dog and its owner or something, in that we're different beasts entirely, but when I'm with him, I just feel like I'm at home, and it's bloody lovely. And what's interesting is that it's not just me. Genuinely, all of his girlfriends in the past 15 years, and now his wife, have been like me. They're highly ambitious, driven entrepreneurs, and he's a perfect partner to them. So this really shows the nuances of the phrase, you are the result of the 5 people you spend most time with. So firstly, as long as the person's attributes don't stop you from being yourself, it's not a problem. And secondly, you can actually pick some specific elements and ignore 95% of the rest of their personality. So I pick up on Laurie's appreciation for life and his ability to relax and live in the moment, and other parts of his personality don't rub off on me. I love the parts that interest, energize, and inspire me to be more of myself. And so it's a great relationship. And as I stated at the start, growth mindset, there's just an autonomy on your part on how people affect you. It's not like you're a mixing pot of the 5 people and the result is you. It's more like a self-select buffet where you get to choose whatever parts you want from the people you spend time with. But, only if they don't have attributes to block you from being yourself. Now, on the flip side, some people I don't spend any time with. In fact, 2 people who I met this year, it would be wrong to call them friends. I've spent 1 hour with them, and they both massively influenced me. I met a guy cycling around Europe this summer. He was having a summer off, and I was like, damn, I think I need to do more cycling. And he was just like, yeah, mate, and just really pushed me. And equally, I reached out to the youngest lady to cycle all the way around the world. And she also broke some world records. I had a chat with her, and that really cemented the feeling in me to do some cycling this summer. And not only that, I've also got 3 applications in the Guinness World Records. And so literally 2 hours of my life with 2 different people, that short window was enough to massively influence what I'm doing this year and with my life. So people can influence you, but clearly the time required and the effect that they have on you is very much up to you. You have the autonomy because you have a growth mindset. And I think this is hugely important. I see so many people get really deep into self-improvement and they go out of their way to network all the time and try to maximize all their free time to creating relationships with successful people who they want to be like. And anything that you add in removes the other things that you're not prioritizing. I would absolutely hate anyone that listens to this podcast to ever miss out on the great relationships in their life because they're prioritizing only a certain type of person to spend time with. It's not about knowing all the coolest people and being in the right cliques, whatever, all the time. As Coco Chanel says, there are rich people and there are those who have money. They are not the same people. As they say, variety is the spice of life, and that is a point I will come back to after the third big point I have to make. Now, this last point is all around our peers and cliques that we might join. We might even self-select to be in them. The issue, I say, is that being completely immersed in a certain type of person can sometimes be damaging, because if all of our peers have a certain mindset, we can lose sight of our own internal wants when we just start to move with the crowd and become a sheep. In life, we are confined by any limitations that we believe in, physically or mentally. And limitations are stories that we come to believe in due to our experiences and the expectations of our peers and society. And sometimes it can be useful to think bigger. It can also be useful to think smaller. When Sahil Lavingia launched the company GumRoad, he was in Silicon Valley. He was thinking big. He was at the heart of startups and VCs. He was out to build the next billion-dollar empire for creators. Their revenue grew, but he struggled to achieve the level of growth required to become a unicorn business. He felt like a failure. And after a few years, he was ready to just completely quit, and he laid off most of his staff. He managed to stabilize GumRoad's modest revenue, and he kept things ticking over whilst he moved to Arizona to de-stress. In Arizona, the dream of the good life meant something different to Silicon Valley. People wanted work-life balance, flexible work that had a good pay, and over some time, the realization hit Sahil that he already had this dream. In fact, by lowering his aspirational ceiling of income and raising his ceiling of aspirational freedom, he changed his mindset. It restored his energy to work on the business again, and he enjoyed putting in work. He grew it into a very good lifestyle business, and it actually became very successful. It's not $1 billion startup that's IPOing, but he's making many millions each year now, and he can do whatever the hell he wants. So, the aspirations of your peers can be a dangerous thing if your goal is contentment. It can drive you to spend years in stress, locked out from the ability to just be yourself. There is a saying that a fish does not know it's in water, and this means that you literally can't see the culture you are in. So it's hard to notice your aspirations being controlled by others, but they really are sometimes, and I find it very helpful to have friends with very different lifestyles to me to keep me grounded. The ones that will ask you difficult questions that help you to be yourself. Friends that find my lifestyle weird, or old people, young people. Remember, variety is the spice of life. One of my favorite conversations recently was actually with my nan's sister. My nan's dead now, but her sister is a super lovely lady, and she reminded me that life is short. I don't have a second backup life where I can go and do the things that I want to do, so I should prioritize doing them now. And similarly, I stayed with a 60-year-old guy last week through couchsurfing whilst I was cycling across Europe, and he told me his biggest regret in life was actually working too hard and not prioritizing enjoyment or family time. And these people, they definitely affected me, and they inspired me to write this episode to just help nudge your thinking and challenge you to ask yourself some questions. And I actually have some questions now prepared for you to specifically make you think about how you spend time, and you might want to journal on these things or perhaps discuss them with a friend or a mentor. Am I putting my energy directly into the thing I want to do, or have I postponed that until after this current project? And you want to think about, is there a faster way to reach the lifestyle that you want? Because you often put them on hold and you don't want to put it on hold. Another one that's really important is, who are my idols and why do I look up to them? Because I've questioned myself on this recently, and like, my idols used to be very much more just purely successful business people. And I'm like, actually, wait, I really love adventure and creativity, and I don't have the time to be as creative as I want. Now that I'm changing that, I'm spending much more time on the podcast, and it's been getting so much better. And I'm really enjoying the fact that I've changed who I look up to. It's really helped me shape who I am. Finally, can you think of 5 different people to you who you think are cool, and what do you think they would tell you to do? That's it on the questions. I'll put them in the show notes. And just remember, you are not the product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. You are a self-selected smorgasbord of traits of whomever you choose to be inspired by. And another Coco Chanel saying is that in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. What a legend. I hope that this episode has been challenging you on how you think about friendship, success, how the people around you affect you, and will push you in positive directions. If you have any friends that this episode made you think of and you're just really grateful to have them in your life, please tell them that they're awesome and that you appreciate them. I hadn't seen one of my good friends in a year, and the week before I was due to go visit her, she drove into a tree and was in a coma during the weekend when I was meant to be hanging out with her. I am super grateful for the fact that she is still alive and is recovering well now. Quick shout out to Charlotte Torrance, the legend lives on. But it was a painful reminder that life is very short, and you should definitely tell people that you love them, and don't skip time on relationships chasing the wrong things. Also, if you know anyone who you think would love this episode, sharing is caring, and if you feel like giving me a positive rating or a review, that would really help me grow the show, and I'd be eternally grateful. I also write a newsletter each week called Explosive Thinking, and it's on topics just like this. You can subscribe in the show notes. And with that, thanks a bunch for listening. Stay safe. Don't drive into trees, please, for the love of God. And this podcast is here to be a positive influence on your life and change any unhelpful mindsets, foster growth, and be who you were born to be. Remember, if you want to enjoy your life, that starts by enjoying today.